Hello there, very good evening. Welcome to another edition of the People's Platform. We've been talking a lot about elections since elections have been delayed for so long. People in Sri Lanka really don't understand the impact that the delay in election is having on the country as a whole, especially during this time of crisis, because while this government is making multiple changes, monumental changes, things that have never been done in the history of Sri Lanka, such as the debt optimization program, one must keep in mind always that these massive reforms are done without the seal of consent of the general public. That is because the people of Sri Lanka never signed up or never signed on to the reforms that are taking place right now. And the only way that the people can give the government a mandate on doing these things is through an election. However, elections are still uncertain. To discuss these matters and much more, we've got with us the Executive Director of the Institute for Democratic Reforms and Electoral Studies, Manjula Gajanayaka. A very good evening, Manjula, and welcome to the show. So, for starters, now Sri Lanka was supposed to have local government council elections at the beginning of this year. That didn't take place. Sri Lanka doesn't really have any provincial councils in operation. By the delay in the local government council elections, there are no local government bodies. So technically only the elected body that is governing or administering the affairs of the country right now is the Parliament of Sri Lanka. And I think anyone in this country would agree that the Parliament does not have the mandate that it did, at least when it was initially elected, because the circumstances have changed so much. A president was ousted by the people themselves. The many houses and other property of parliamentarians were destroyed. Of course, violence is not condoned at all, but one must need to look at the reasons as to why the people lost their patience and did what they did. However, the easiest way to resolve all of these issues is to hold an election and get a mandate. Now, I don't think, Manjula, I really need to question you on why elections are not being held. But let's just talk a bit about the case that is ongoing in the Supreme Court, not the substances of the matter, but what the real progress of this case is. Because initially when the election was postponed, everyone was like, no, we are going to go to the Supreme Court. We are going to have this election. And in fact, the Supreme Court issued an interim order directing the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance to release the funds that were allocated for the election through the appropriation bill for the year 2023. However, none of that was done. So what really is the progress of this?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me for this discussion, Charlene. Actually, that regarding the Supreme Court case related to the elections, the progress is, I saw that after the hearing of the last time, actually they were decided to have a five-bench Supreme Court actually that to hear this case. But finally, what you mentioned that the regarding the interim order, it is true that actually there was an order to Secretary to the Finance Ministry to release funds for the elections, but at the same time as the Secretary to the Finance Ministry, actually he responded to that still they are finding money and there's no allocated money for the in the Treasury. That was the situation. Then still ongoing and postponing the hearing. That mean it will take another more time. Then still we just like starting point, actually we are still, there's no definite date, and also still we are on the fence and uncertain when we are going to have the elections. But meantime, there are some progress. That mean already the Constitutional Council has appointed the Election Commission, but unfortunately it's also an incomplete mission because there are only 3 persons commission. Still they are finding who are to appoint for other 2 persons. Then it also incomplete mission. Then right now what we can see, there's no any indication when they are going to hold not only local government election, even provincial council election.
But Manjula, one of the main things in administering a country or having governance, not good governance, but governance of any sort, is to put in place systems. I mean, as a country, we are spending billions and billions on maintaining certain systems as checks and balances. Because take, for example, even our parliamentarians, the judiciary, members of the executive, the legislature, all of these institutions are being funded because they are all part of a system. And for us to prosper as a country, for us to move forward as a country, we need proper systems. Now, one of those systems is the election system, where representative democracy is being fostered and then practiced here in Sri Lanka. So, the Elections Commission, like you mentioned, it's a very important institution. That's the institution that ensures that elections are conducted independently. Without the Elections Commission, without the powers of the Elections Commission to conduct an election independently, whichever party is in power would obviously have a bigger sway in how the elections are being conducted, which could lead to, election fraud, election manipulation, and various other malpractices. But for the Elections Commission to conduct an independent, impartial investigation, the Elections Commission itself needs to be independent and impartial. And like you said, the current Elections Commission has not fully been constituted. But the previous Election Commission was dissolved only very recently, especially after the passage of the 21st Amendment to the Constitution, and subsequently, just a few months ago, I believe, the Elections Commission was dissolved. And by the looks of it, when you look at what has happened to the members of of the previous Election Commission and where they are now, one might wonder as to if they really were independent commissioners as part of that independent commission, because one of the elections commissioners who resigned is now a governor, and everybody knows that a governor is a political appointee. Now, I do know that the fact that there's nothing barring an elections commissioner or a member of the elections commission from being appointed as a governor or even a parliamentarian for that matter. But what does this really say about the independence of the elections commission?
Shalin, it is a very valid question actually. My understanding and my observation is that actually almost all the responsible institutions have been failed to put the governance system, a good governance system in place. That's the main thing. Now, what you mentioned regarding the constitution constituting the current election commission, then let me to say actually it is the first of all that the responsibility should be taken by the Constitutional Council. Let me to start with the current structure of current election commission. There are 3 persons. Okay. Now there are 3 persons. Actually, 2 persons came from the same department, the election department. Actually, they were previous election commissioners. According to the mandate 103 Constitution article of the Constitution. Actually, they say that it says that the person who above deputy election commissioners can be appointed. At least then, I mean that when I hear the commission, there should be variations within the commissions actually. But unfortunately, they have been taken all 2 persons from the same department. There's no variations, number 1. Other thing is actually that the Constitutional Council have been appointed only 3 persons. Now almost all for weeks, for months, they have not been appointed other 2 persons. But the facts also very, there's a tragedy. That we were expecting that there were 2 names surfaced. One name is that actually the Dr. Ramesh, Ramasamy Ramesh from Peradeniya University. Actually, he's a so capable and understandable young person who has good knowledge on election matters and democracy. But unfortunately, due to some concerns actually that Constitutional Council has decided, I assume that they have not been going to appoint Ramesh as a commission member. Instead, actually, they are going to pick another same person from the same department. That's the thing. taking the responsibility of this statement, actually, let me to say, actually, this is just like now, it is just like not independent election commission, now it is just like a branch of president's secretary, because actually, as I heard, actually, he's the one who picked most of person for the election commission now. And other thing is that regarding the independency of the autonomous power vested with the election commission, it is true that one of the actually chairman is serving as one of members of the Human Rights Commission, as other one is in the governor's position in Northern Province. Recently, I received a letter from submitted by the chairman of the something like committee established in Northern Province, Mr. Sridharan. Actually, he has submitted this letter to Human Rights Commission, the President and UN, even IMF, actually, mentioning the corruption malpractices done by the former commissioner, actually, election commission member, PSM Charles. I don't know whether she has done it or not, but in that many things in that letter. Then, as a responsible commission member, she has a responsibility to answer these questions. At least one of government institutions like Parliament or any other bribery commission or other institution should take up these matters. But unfortunately, what has happened, instead, Parliament itself has appointed another select committee to oversee matters related to election commission. It is a tragedy, because if you can see the signatures, actually, that the signed by members of that petition, only one veteran politician, he also is totally inactive now, Mr. Gamni Lokuge. Other all members are new persons, but I have not seen any contribution given by those members as nationally important. That's the main thing. But they have signed to appoint a special committee to against the election commission. But meantime, you know that the person who blamed, one of persons who blamed, has appointed to the election commission. Then we can understand what is going on. The thing is, this is the climax, Charlene. Climax mean, actually, they have taken more than 30 strategies to postpone the election. Finally, actually, they were able to appoint their own commission. Now, no elections. The thing is, actually, you know that I saw recently, 3rd March, I guess, that a few months ago, previous election commission, at least they were trying hard to conduct the election. Actually, we should accept it. They have taken they have issued 18 media release. What are the measures, explaining what are the measures actually they have been taken to conduct the elections, for the elections. But unfortunately, this election commission, now they have the quorum, 3 members there. Now they can do something. Have you seen any letter sent to president because to take an effort to conduct the election? We have not seen any letter. Actually, recently, as a head of one of election monitoring missions, IRIS sent a letter to election commission requesting, at least this time, try to conduct the elections. But Charlene, instead, most of people, even politicians in the parliament, talking on presidential election. That means intentionally, consciously, we have been forgotten that there's a pending election, ongoing election right now, local government election. But president and others, elites, actually, they have been able to shift the momentum. Now they are talking on presidential election. Then, not only politicians, not only institutions, our taxpayers, our citizens also should be responsible what is going on right now.
But Manjula, this really raises a very important question. Does the issue really lie in Sri Lanka's system failure, actually? Does the issue lie with how the system is set up, or with how the system is being managed and enforced in the country? We'll get into those details and much more after this short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. You're watching The People's Platform.
TV, along with the Department of Sports in the Northern Province, presents Jaffna Football Premier League. This is our game, JFPL 2023 Football Festival. This year's grand sporting event for selected football clubs from divisional secretariats of the Jaffna district. The victorious team will win 500,000 rupees and many more prizes from the 22nd of July to the 6th of August at Jaffna Durayappa ground and Arile Football Training Centre ground.
බින්දුවටම ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරපු සමහර දේශපාලන ප්‍රවාහයන් ආයෙනවා කලාව නාව. ඒකෙත් කලාවක් තියෙනවා. ඒක කලාව. ඒ මොකක්ද? කොහොමද ඒක කියවන්නේ?
තරුණයෝ ඉල්ලුවේ සිස්ටම් චේන්ජ් එක. ඒක උනේ නෑනේ.
ඒක හදන්න මිනිස්සු ඉන්නව නැත්තේ නෑ. IMF එකෙන් ණය ගත්ත හැකි. ඔව්. ආර්ථික කඩාවැටීම. මේ සංස්කෘතික කඩාවැටීම සිදු වුණාන් පස්සේ අපි කාගෙන්ද ණයට ගන්න කියන ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙනවා.
හරි කරගෙන කාට හරි ගෙයිමක් දීලා කීයක් හරි හොයාගෙන ඉන්න නම් පුරුෂාර්ථය හැදිලා තියෙන ජීවිතේ එතනින් එහාට යගේ හියුමන් ලයිෆ් එකේ ගමනක් නෑනේ.
මිනිස්සු ප්ලෑන් කරපු ජීවිත නැති වෙලා හැමෝටම තමන්ගේ ජීවිතය අහිමි.
ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදයේ දරිද්‍රතාවයක් කියනවා. Poverty of democracy.
බුද්ධිමය සංවාදය බ්‍රහස්පතින්දා රාත්‍රී 10:30 මාවත.
If you are talking about SOEs, the number one priority should be not selling or divesting or getting dollars by selling your family silver, but by making the SOEs viable and profit making.
He in fact said, I would like you to be a chairman of another organization. So it was more a surprise and some form of unexpected move, which I believe is not proper ethics or decorum in a corporate boardroom.
We are not against private enterprises. We are not for keeping loss-making institutions with us either. But what we are against is the complete outright selling of things.
Ministers also must understand that these entities also must be run and managed in a profitable manner. How do you get along with this? You need to know your numbers, you need to know your staff, you need to know your efficiency levels. If technology is not brought in, that has to be brought in. So,
Newsline, Monday to Friday at 8:30 p.m. on TV1.
Welcome back. You're watching The People's Platform. We're in discussion with Manjula Gajanayaka, the Executive Director of the Institute for Democratic Reforms and Electoral Studies, shortly known as IRES. Mr. Gajanayaka, now we were speaking about the system here in Sri Lanka, actually the election system here in Sri Lanka. And we came to a point where a question was raised. Actually, I raised the question. And we promised our viewers that we will discuss this matter after the short commercial break. So I will pose this question to you now. So is the issue in Sri Lanka's election system the system itself, how the laws are set up and how we are supposed to function according to the book, or is it the enforcement of the system? Where does the issue lie, the system or the enforcement?
Actually, this questions, I mean, the problem is in the both sides. That means not only enforcement, even the not law, actually the structure itself. If you are asking me to further to explain this matter, actually, let's say now the election commission. If you can see the narration, I mean, observe all the regional election commission, election management bodies, how they are work actually. Let's say in Indian election commission, the most important factor is that you need to have the power to decide the date of elections. It's the fundamental thing. I mean, which election date can decide to our election commission actually. The problem is that the local government election, once the four years term over, actually the powers is going to the line minister. Line minister can postpone the election from 1 year. Then it is not not the case. Even the provincial council elections after the 5 years, technically election commission should be able to conduct the election. But in Sri Lanka, how it works that the governor should be able to announce to the decision to the president. President should be able to inform to the election commission. Others also like that. No, even parliament actually once dissolved, president will be informed to the election commission. That means you don't have powers. That means that's why there are various actors informing, talking on election and election dates. Even I saw that Mr. Vajirabhevardhana, actually the chairman of election, chairman of the United National Party, now he is assuming that the date to be conducted the presidential election. It is just like an official chairman of election commission. In other side, election commission also, when hearing those things, actually narrations, election commission means totally sound sleep. That's the other thing. That means the constitutionally we have not been able to given the powers to election commission, the one thing. Other thing is actually if there's a personal, characters who can change the system, actually they will be able to change little bit. But unfortunately, we can't see that exemplary characters, persons are in such commissions, especially in election commissions, because when there's a contradiction like that, president doesn't like to hold elections, but opposition leader and others are like to have elections, then there should be a win-win situation created by election commission. But election commission not come in forward, they are also in sound sleep. There's no characters. That's the problem actually. Otherwise, Charlene, you know very well than me actually, the law itself actually, we have enough laws, okay? And although the system is in place, but the thing is actually structurally, we have not been given more powers to election commission, though we are saying independent commission, as well as actually there's no strong characters to navigate the system. That's the problem here.
So, moving forward as a country, how detrimental is the postponement of elections? Because now, provincial council elections haven't been held for, I think, almost 4 to 5 years. They're due for about almost 5 years now. Local government elections also haven't been held, since last year. Like you said, it was postponed for an additional year.
Almost 2 years.
Yes. But local government bodies are now defunct. There are no local government bodies. So, what kind of impact do you think this will have on the future of Sri Lanka now? First, before we get into that, now you said that the chairman of the UNP is acting in the capacity of the de facto chairman of the Elections Commission and saying that next year it will be a presidential election in the month of July. Do you actually think that next year is going to be an election year? Will elections or some form of election be held next year?
Yes, I think so. Because not provincial elections, subnational elections, because provincial council, that the mindset of government that if they are conducting subnational elections like provincial council and local government, it is not, they can't gain anything, because they may be, due to the current situation and economic strain and everything, actually they will lose the election may be. That's the mindset of government.
But Manjula, I think there was an idea mooted, especially I think this came from the Samagi Janabala Vegia, to hold the elections together, because as the government's position right now is that we don't have money to hold elections, and local government council elections are due, provincial council elections are due by sometime next year, the presidential and even the general election, parliamentary elections will be due. So why not hold a few of these elections together? Do you think that's a possibility that the Elections Commission should be looking into?
Yeah, as an election observer, actually, I can tell two things. The first thing is actually even in a situation that they are not doesn't like to hold even one elections, that I can't predict that they will hold all the elections together. That's the first thing. The other thing is actually that it is a fair request, and also actually that the few years ago, not only IRIS. That not been created, IRIS actually at that time, even PAFRL, CMEB and other election monitoring organizations, even TISL and other organizations have been requested to look on this matter actually to hold those elections. But technically it is very difficult. Yes, it is. There's a possibility to hold the elections, but there are many technical issues. Because the election system itself, let's say that local government election is conducted under the mixed member proportional system. That again, that provincial council, we don't know which elections are under that to be conducted. Provincial council election it is in a debacle. And the other thing is actually the presidential election. You know that in a situation that presidential election, actually we consider the whole country as a one constituency. Then when it comes to the ballot paper, actually it is maybe the 4 pages ballot paper, and also a very difficult one to mark. Or if we are using, the alternative, then there should be a considerable time period to aware people, even voters actually. Even that hill country, if we are assuming that actually there should be, it will take long time to aware people. But it is possible if we can start now, right now. But to overcome these issues, the problem is now actually to take matters quickly, to hold one election at somehow. Then in this situation, it is not a fair decision to ask to hold all the elections. You know what will happen? As an election observer, let me to tell this. In 2017, actually, UNP and especially Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, actually, he has a long history to delay elections, because in 2017 still we don't have provincial council election. It is almost disappeared because of the action taken by Mr. President Ranil Wickremesinghe and others in 2017, because at the first time they wanted to change the election system. At the same time, actually, they included something to increase the
number of members,
women participation,
or 25%.
Finally, in the second reading of Parliament, actually, at the very first time, actually, they submitted the 2-page bill. Finally, in the second reading, it made 32 pages. That means the proposal was made by Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe and others to hold all the provincial council elections together. What opposition leader asking right now? But after hearing that matter by the Supreme Court actually correctly said that it is disfranchise the voting rights of people, because there's a time gap, gaps in between the conducting provincial council election in each provinces. That's the main problem. Then if we are going to change the system, actually it will take considerable time, and if so, we can start the discussion, but it is not a solution to overcome current issue.
So, you said next year is going to be an election year. As an election monitor, what kind of an election do you see coming Sri Lankans' way next year?
It is it's a tragedy to tell this actually, because not even election commission, not any election management body to be decided these things. But unfortunately, it is.
No, but I think we have been put in a position where we are now left to guess.
Yeah.
Because nobody is telling us, so might as well take a guess.
Totally understood. It is. What I wanted to tell actually, it is just like a wish list of politicians. No, it is not the matter to decide by election commission or any other election management body. That's my worry, Charlene. Then otherwise, actually, you made the correct question. The thing is actually, considering the current situation, it may be presidential election, because they need the parliament. Most of times, you know that our history, almost all the parliamentarians would be like to be there almost 5 years. No, it is what history says. Then and also the president thinks that the things what he's made right now, and also the debt optimization and other process actually, and also the mindset of UNP, what their propaganda right now. Now we can see that there's another move of UNP, and politically, rather, considering past, they are getting ready for presidential election. Therefore, I guess that presidential election would be happen.
So, moving forward, I think we've got just a little bit of time left. Quickly running this through. Usually, when you look back at Sri Lanka's history, what we see is people getting a lot of concessions during election periods. I think even back in 2015, people got concessions during the elections, especially during the budget speech. Many taxes are reduced. State sector employees are given salary bumps. Fuel prices are reduced. Electricity tariffs, water tariffs are reduced. Do you see this vicious cycle of bribing voters through, well, government power continuing come the next election?
Definitely. It is a first step, actually. Let me to say that they have been taken the first step regarding the extension. I mean, you know that when they process the Aswasuma program as an alternative to the ongoing Samurdhi project, actually, that the Samurdhi campaign, that I saw that according to the data and statistics issued by the government, some of departments, actually, they have been rejected. Some of nearly 400,000 applications related to Samurdhi, but unfortunately the continuing request of SLPP members, now what they have been done, actually, that they have given the grants, given the chance to incorporate into Aswasuma program again. That means, I guess, that it is the official, just like official bribe taken place heading to next election. That's the main thing. Another thing is, you know, that now let's start to see how appointing heads and leaders of the departments, not departments, actually corporation and other government, most of government entities, most of persons are coming from defeated members of UNP, even governors, okay? Then it is just like another bribery. And also appointing high commissioners and ambassadors also, again coming from come in the list of defeated politicians. Another thing, okay, let's say, government, it is a vicious cycle, yes, part of vicious cycle, and it is their duty, let's say, but there should be a mechanism to control that from at least bribery commission and election commission, like that. But it is totally inactive. Even bribery commission, actually, we have that closer to election, we can see there's a queue of politicians providing files to them, mentioning politicians, other opponent politicians' names, but have we seen any actions taken by bribery commission?
Well, initially, sometimes action is taken by the bribery commission. However, I think a slew of cases were dismissed due to technical errors that the bribery commission has intentionally or unintentionally made during the filing of those matters.
Even Shalin, not few, no, nearly 80 or...
Many. I said a slew of cases, not a few. But anyways, at the end of the day, no action has been taken, no punishment meted out. And in the end of the day, when corruption goes without consequence, there is nothing to deter any future politicians or people who are coming into those positions in the future
and also,
from doing
forgive me
the same thing. No, tell me.
And the other thing is, you know that there's the white cloth Silreddy case heard by Supreme Court, as well as that another case related to Uva Provincial Council elections, and there are many verdicts, okay? But I mean, as an election observer and also the average person, actually, we can see that once given, express that verdict such like that, actually, we can see that it will be exemplary decision. But unfortunately, no one there to follow that, no? That's another problem. I mean,
it's not done enough. There's the enforcement is done in certain matters, but when it comes to even enforcing these decisions, it's not only the judiciary, but also the prosecuting body, like you said, the Attorney General's Department, the Bribery Commission, whatever other law enforcement institutions also need to play a very active role, and their inactiveness in all of this could result in the failure of those matters that have been filed in court. Thank you very much, Manjula Gajanayaka, the Executive Director of the Institute for Democratic Reforms and Electoral Studies, or IREC, for joining us today and discussing these very, very important matters. Hopefully, we will be able to see an election at least next year, and hopefully Manjula will be covered in work as an election monitor and to ensure that these elections are held fair and square. Thank you very much to all our viewers out there for tuning in to another episode of The People's Platform. We'll see you again, same time, same place, next week. Until then, take care and God bless.
The 261st Annual Feast of St. Anne's Shrine in Khalawila. Special service by His Lordship Bishop Valence Mendes on Sunday, the 6th of August 2023 at 7 a.m. live on Sirasa TV.